Hello and welcome to a brand new season 2 of the Talking Parra podcast. We have in the house, we have Entertain House, Mr. Hayden. How you going? We have Maddie from Maddie Tate Sports Cards. We have myself, Troy from the Parra Cave podcast. And we have our illustrious host back for another year, Mr. Adam Martin. Adam, what have we got planned for tonight and this year coming up?
Well, yeah, first of all, thanks, Troy. It's good to be back. I'm very surprised we got renewed, but I guess when that decision was ours to make, we kind of kept going. So, this is just obviously a bit of a season review from last year, which we've been meaning to do after the grand final. But look, I don't think any of us really wanted to talk about the grand final, so we've kind of taken some time to get over it. Got in that swing of footy season again, and now we're ready to talk about it. So we'll do a review of the season, touch on some moments throughout the year. I know we touched on a lot of stuff at the back end of last year anyway, but obviously look at the trials that have happened, because trials mean absolutely nothing unless you pump Newcastle, then they mean everything. And then we'll obviously do a bit of a season preview, and then obviously next week we jump on and we go for it with our first episode of the actual season. So I'll start with who wants to start? Who wants to talk about last year? Like the good, the bad, the ugly. I know Fox Sports have been showing a fair few of the best games of 2022 in the last week. So we've actually featured a few of them. We got to relive Melbourne, which was obviously a pretty glorious moment for myself being there. Relive that Penrith game. I know all of us were sitting there pretty close to each other at that game. That was pretty special. And look, obviously my highlight was, I don't think I'll ever... I know it's super weird. Like we probably didn't talk about that much last year because of obviously the grand final coming up, but how special that prelim final was, obviously for me and Hayden being there. You guys living at the Leeds Club as well, that was obviously a special one as well, but how special that actually was. And it's probably a moment, especially kind of what's happened across the preseason in my own life, that I'll kind of never forget. So who wants to touch? Hayden, you want to go first? You're probably the most in the full swing of things at the moment, so...
Yeah, obviously a huge season last year. I didn't have us going to the grand final in my preseason predictions, but there we were. I did have us in second position with the Panthers in first. So I guess the first and second combination worked there. We obviously knew it was the last year for Reid Marnie, so he kind of wanted to go out with that bang, which he absolutely did.
Who?
I remember interviewing after I think it was the Roosters game, asking him how much he was looking forward to these last 8 weeks with the club. And he said, 8 weeks, what are you talking about? We've got 12 weeks. We've got week 1, week 2, week 3 of the finals into the grand final. And look, at the time, I didn't believe him just how far we would go. He looked a bit shaky. We were still beating some of the bigger teams throughout the season, your Roosters, your Panthers. Still can't get past the fucking Rabbitohs. Don't know what it is with them. But absolutely a huge season, as you mentioned, that prelim being there in Townsville, banging the drum, the atmosphere. When Reds scored that try, it became electric. Very similar to at Penrith when Ryan Madison scored that try, and he's just turning up that noise so that it was on the TV. But, yeah, great season. A few boys departing the club. So, obviously, Oregon Kafusi, Ray Stone, we mentioned Reid Marnie, Murata Niokore. There's probably some names I haven't mentioned. Tom Opacek, and they all had fairly great seasons for the most part. Even Ray Stone, whose minutes were obviously very limited, but some highlights beating Melbourne in a classic Golden Point game. And look, a lot of expectation this year from us. Obviously, from a lot of other people, they have us either dropping out of the top 8 or lower in the 8, but after seeing what we saw last year, we're all hoping for some high expectations going into 2023 and doing well in week 2 of the preseason challenge.
Wonderful. Who wants to talk about last season first? Who wants to get it out of the way, get it done? Matt, Troy?
Go, man.
Don't jump at me.
Okay, all right.
You go first.
Look, there was too many goods to talk about, and we've all mentioned them there. Obviously, being a Parra fan, living in Penrith, beating Penrith at Penrith in their 19 game winning streak. That was obviously right up high on the list. Beating Melbourne in Melbourne the way that we did, to come from behind, and then Golden Point, and then Ray Stone doing that try. I only just realised the other day watching the replay that he scored 2 tries that game. So definitely was the man of the match in that game. To the prelim final, obviously that was a magical moment, and as you said, you guys won't forget it because you're up in Townsville at the ground. Maddie and I won't forget it because we're at the Leeds Club, and it's one of those games that you never ever forget where you were and how it all went down. And then look, I'm going to chuck in the grand finals as good as well. Both the men's and the women's team making the grand finals. Obviously, that's a massive achievement. The bad, I'll
chuck in the grand final.
Well, yeah, it was always going to be tough, the grand final, to beat the Panthers. It was always going to be tough. Yeah, obviously it was bad. Disappointed. Wasn't as shattered as 2001, but so yeah, obviously that's bad. Yeah, I guess. The ugly is probably the 2 losses against the Bulldogs and the Tigers. So we only just scraped into the 4 at the end of the season in the last round, defeating Melbourne at Combank, which we will do again next week. But we only just scraped into the 4, and had we have won those 2 games, we probably comfortably would have been into the 4. And yeah, they were games that we should have won. And probably one really ugly moment out of that was probably when Mitchell Moses against the Bulldogs went over the line and just casually over the line, and then got the ball knocked out of his hands, and obviously it was no try. So that was really disappointing. So that was probably the ugliest moment, I reckon, of the season. But overall, 2022, both for the men's and the women's team, a successful season.
Yep, Matt.
Yeah, as Troy said, being a Penrith boy, it was like the lead up was crazy here, especially walking around. I think I saw more Parra jerseys walking around that week than actual Penrith ones. Couple of fans I talked to were actually kind of worried. But yeah, it was a great season. Probably, as Troy said, should have finished a bit higher. We let a few games drop. I probably thought we should have won. A lot of our losses come from just stupid stuff. So we could have actually ran at that top 2. But other than that, the grand final, it was the atmosphere was crazy. It was the first grand final I've been to since I think the Tigers won. But yeah, there was one play in that game I think changed the whole grand final. We can touch on that later.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say because I'm probably going to say the same thing. Look, I'll give my quick wrap. Obviously, we finished the season in 4th, 24 games, 16 wins. As you guys mentioned, there's probably some games we threw away. The Tigers game. I won't say we threw away the Bulldogs game because we come up against a very determined Bulldogs team. We weren't in it to throw it away. We underestimated them when we turned up and played our worst footy. But look, finishing 4th and finishing 2nd, it kind of didn't make a difference in the end. We got to the grand final, so we essentially finished top 2. Did we overachieve? That's a question that's been asked, given the team we had. I don't think we overachieved because I think the goal this year was to make a prelim after obviously exiting week 2 for the last few years, obviously taking away 2018. The goal was to always make a prelim. The fact we got to a prelim in Townsville against the odds, went up there in the heat and pulled away that game as a win, I think that obviously carried on a bit of an effect to us for the week after as well. Talking of the grand final, I'll get to that in a sec, but one of the most pleasing things when I've been watching some of these highlights back of these games and these 30-minute matches and stuff is something we haven't done for years and we need to continue to do this year is we stay, I'm going to sound like BA here, but we stayed in the grind of the game and we put in the effort areas. And there's games there. If you look back, look at the Penrith game, look at the Melbourne game, look at the Townsville game against the Cowboys. We were behind. I know me and Hayden looked at each other when we were up in Townsville when we were down, was it 20-12? And we thought, we're done here. We're actually done. I think here we fucking go again. Like another prelim, another loss. I've experienced this. The cop and shit left, right, and centre from the biggest Cowboys fans in the world that couldn't even afford to buy a jersey. So they obviously weren't that big of fans. They're just sitting there just telling abuse at us. Fuck, they bailed pretty quickly when we won, didn't they, Hayden? But it's super funny talking about that. I watched your video again the other day, and for those who haven't seen Hayden's video, I think we probably should chuck that clip up. Just to, one, watch Hayden faint. One, watch Hayden screaming for me and me just being nowhere to be found. But two, watching my dad, who's pretty quiet at games these days, is absolutely giving it to these Cowboys fans as we win, as everyone else is hugging around. But I think 2022 had it all. I've never cried at so many football games in my life. I cried after we beat Melbourne after years of suffering. I cried after we beat the Cowboys in Townsville. Had a bit going on that week as well. And then the grand final, I sat there, and I don't know why my emotions just got on top of me before I started bawling my eyes out. So it's one of those things I'm not afraid to admit. But the year, and I've mentioned the podcast before, you guys obviously know, but I had a fucking terrible year of ups and downs with some stuff last year. And I looked at that grand final and I wasn't disappointed because once again, the team gave me something to believe in. And that's what you want as a fan. You want to believe in your team and you want something to be passionate about. In a year I couldn't be passionate about much, they gave me something to believe in and they gave me something to support. So in regards to the grand finals, yeah, look, it's probably the one that hurt the least. 2001, we got beat. I was a kid. We got beat by the Knights. I was distraught. 2009, we got fucking cheated, both on the game and after. So when you look back at it, we might as well go into it. We might as well talk about the actual grand final now. You look back at it. Look, Penrith, they outclassed us, but I know we're going to talk about this play, but the kick, we obviously did with, 5.5, 6 minutes in, our first real attacking opportunity. If it comes off, it's a miracle play and we score and we could go on to win the grand final. But the fact it didn't come off, it showed that we weren't going to show any patience and composure in that grand final to beat that team. We'd beaten Penrith twice in the season, obviously the regular season. We were in the game at Penrith when not much went our way until Mitchell Moses obviously got knocked out. So to come out 5.5 minutes and think we need to pull off some Harlem Globetrotters super play to put a kick through that Tahoe obviously read pretty well, I think that's what lost us the grand final. I really do. It's a lack of composure, and I think Penrith knew they had us from that moment on. Look, we didn't give up. We obviously scored a couple of late tries, but it flattered us. From that moment on, we were never in the game. Quickly on the atmosphere, it was obviously pretty extraordinary. Obviously, having the women's game before helped. I walked in 3 minutes late to the game after waiting for someone into the women's game. You know, you guys obviously, I walked in with the drum and got the chant going straight away. I didn't know how many people were there when I started that chant. I've gone back and watched that video and watched the women's game, and it's going around the whole ground. And by the end of that game, there was 60,000 people there. There were 60,000 Parramatta fans. And when you look at the crowd of 90,000, there was probably 75,000, 70,000 Parramatta fans there. It was all Parramatta. So, look, it's a memory. It's not a good memory, but it's a memory and it's something we learn from, and hopefully we get the opportunity to go again this year, hopefully. So, anyone else got anything to touch about the actual grand final, the game itself?
Yeah, I think that play, I don't think they expected To'o to read it that well. But if you watch it back, if that ball bounces one more time, Mitch runs past him to score. Every time I watch it, I've watched it a couple times, and I know the boys are actually going to sit down and watch it this weekend, apparently, to see what they did wrong. But yeah, and then obviously Crichton scores straight after. But if Sivo doesn't drop the ball over the line, we can say the ifs all we want. If Bailey had another inch of sideline, he would have burnt Edwards, and it could have been a different ball game. 5 minutes to go, Parra down by 4. So you never know. But yeah, I just feel like the boys were hungry losing that semi-final, and my eagerness of getting to that ground next Thursday and seeing that promo video that they're going to play on the big screen before we run out. Because last year they played the Penrith semi-final and look what happened. This year's going to be even bigger and better, I think, and it's just going to fire us up even more. So I'm expecting a big season after that, because as they were saying, and even Penrith admitted it, you got to lose one to win one, and yeah. So
Well, to be
Anyone else,
honest, I can't really remember much about the game because I haven't watched it back since.
Kenny?
But yeah, look, a few points there that Matty touched on. If Bailey, supposed to be probably the fastest guy in our club, had he have maybe just stopped and stepped inside, maybe, who knows what could have happened there. But yeah, I thought we were actually in the game for the first 10, 15 minutes. But then I think Penrith's experience and of playing in big games, massive games, and obviously Origin experience took over, and they just outmuscled and outplayed us. And yeah, it looked like it was coming good towards the end there, but just again, not enough time. But
Would you say it was coming good when Arthur came on and changed the game?
Well,
mate.
he did. He scored a try, mate.
He
so,
scored a try, and he got an
try in
assist
the
too.
grand final. So,
Yeah.
that's no easy feat to score a try in a grand final. That's but yeah, obviously disappointing, but you learn from it and make you bigger and better. And Junior Paolo, he's had 2 disappointments last year. Obviously the World Cup now, and then the grand final. So hopefully those two moments can spur him on even more this year.
And Origin.
Yeah, and Origin as well. So 3, there you go. So
Spur
him on even more.
Things happen in threes, don't they? So, Hayden, what do you got?
Yeah, obviously, like Troy, I haven't watched the game back too much. I was there, remember it quite well, but I thought, as Troy said, first 15 minutes definitely in it, but I thought they really tired and ran through our forwards. You mentioned Paulo there, and those losses definitely going to fire him up. We need him. With a few of the losses we've got this year, he's going to play a massive role in our team. But yeah, like you guys, obviously hoping for bigger and better things, such as a trophy in 2023.
Can someone remind me, was there a Clint Gutherson dropout that was ridiculous in the grand final?
Like a short dropout?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 2, I think.
Okay, we'll see. There you go. That's sort
we
of,
were going for that a lot throughout the season as well, but we saw it actually working in the preseason. A few different teams using that.
Everyone's been doing it. I don't mind it because it gets your defensive line set either way. Like, look, you can give away 2 points, but it gets your defensive line set instead of rushing up and having to work back. So you're constantly on that line. You're only going up that 2 or 3 meters to defend your line, or 4 meters, as opposed to having to go up more every time and back. So,
although in a grand final, though, I'm not too sure about doing it in a grand final.
I'm not sure about kicking the ball on second tackle to your halfback in a grand final, and we tried that. So I guess nothing was off limits. But anyway, look, let's close 2022. No more bets on.
Just one quick one.
One more bet.
One more. Do you think it was a mistake not training at ANZ?
Nah.
I don't think it mattered where we trained. I just think we went up to the grand final. I think we played our grand final the week before, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think there's any point in training there when there's no crowd there. So it's just another football field.
That's it. All right, let's go on. I've got another website open for the 2023 games. We'll go through the losses first. You're going to laugh at one of these games. So the losses are Oregon Kaufusi going to Cronulla Sharks. Reid Mahoney going to the Canterbury Bulldogs. Whoever that guy is. Murata Niakor going to the New Zealand Warriors. Tom Opacek to Hull Kingsford Rovers. He's one I would like to keep, actually. I thought he played some good, solid football, and it's not like he was on massive money. Isaiah Papali'i going to the West Tigers. Hayes Perham, which kind of wasn't announced after the season, going to the Canterbury Bulldogs and looks to have held down that full back spot. He's one I do wish good luck to. I really wish we gave him more of a chance in the natural position. And Ray Stone obviously going to the Dolphins. What a hero he goes out as. That's our losses. Look, obviously, I know you're going to say Reid, Hayden, so I'm not going to come to you. My biggest loss there, it's kind of hard, to be honest, because for me, I thought Ice at the back end of the year wasn't playing his best footy. I thought obviously he was the year before and it started last year, but maybe it just seemed that way because of the way Laney was playing. But I feel like he is replaceable, and I feel like the new players have gone in, especially seeing the trial form, he's very replaceable, what we need him to do. Reid, yes, attack, we're going to miss him. But I sometimes found myself, and I mentioned it in several podcasts last year, thinking to myself, he's overplaying his hand. He's not doing enough. And look, I don't need to talk about his defense because I bagged it out all last year. His first contact is terrible. I watched the Bulldogs' first Cronulla trial game. I know it's only a trial game, but I thought he tried to overplay his hand a bit too much once again, and obviously can't with some errors. So I'm not that worried. Yeah, he does.
The Barge overplays.
Yeah, exactly. And Parra, it's hard to say who I think the biggest loss is. I think for a depth thing and that bit of attack, I'd say Parra because I know the potential he had, and we didn't really give him that chance. And he could obviously, we said it all last year, I thought he would have been the perfect 14 to come on, give that bit of spark, change some things around, whatever we need to change around, but we just never gave him that chance. I'll go to you, Matt. Your biggest loss, obviously.
I'm going to say Murata. Just that aggression off the bench, can fill in center. But yeah, I'm definitely going to say Murata. After watching especially the Knights trial, just Hodgson, if he can stay fit, it's going to be Reid who. I love Reid to death, and I know there was a bit of change of mind almost happening there, but and who knows, Papali'i, he's coming back next year anyway. Hey, so yeah, for me, if it was Ray Stone, if he was fit, would have been a big loss because we saw he was an absolute beast in the trial for Dolphins. Someone had to tell him it was actually only a trial because he was going to take his own head off. He was the only player to bleed, I think, all preseason. But yeah, to me, it's Murata.
Rumour actually has it that Ray was bleeding before the game was on, just from headbutting the wall. But
yeah, probably.
Troy?
Nutcase.
Yeah, probably agree with Matty Murata, but also probably Oregon Kafusi as well. He made some impact off the bench last year. He's got size about him, so I can't actually blame anybody for leaving, to be honest, and the club not retaining them, to be honest. Because I mean, if you go through it, Ray Stain's gone for an opportunity to play first grade. Hayes has gone to play first grade.
Reid's gone to play no finals footy.
Yeah, well, that was probably that was probably the most interesting one there. Isaiah's gone for money as well, apparently. Who else was there? Murata, I think
Murata's just gone home, really.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been known a couple of years ago. He said that he wants to go back.
I think it was a family thing for him. So
yeah, I mean, can't blame him. Yeah, you can't blame any of them for leaving, and probably the club not retaining them either. So, it's obviously disappointing to lose players, but I think we've got some pretty handy replacements.
That's it. If we got offered Reid the money he wanted, we wouldn't have been in the position we are to now sign Mitch. So, Hayden, you got 30 seconds to tell me why it's Reid. Ready, go.
Oh, I think it's Reid
because he's Queensland.
No, not just that. He's obviously knocking on the Queensland jersey, but I think he was just a massive part of that spine. I think he came up with those plays, which, look, I think Dylan's still going to come up with those type of plays. Mitch is obviously our genuine kicking halfback, but as you said, he did overplay his hand, but there were those moments where he'd come up with those big plays, whether it be kicking a 40-20 out of nowhere. His defense was solid. He was always making top 3 tackles by the end of the year. As you mentioned, first contact sometimes wasn't great, but overall just making plenty of tackles per game and a workhorse. So, yeah, I'm going to miss Reid a lot, guys.
All right, I'll ask you guys a question quickly while we're on it. When Reid returns to CommBank Stadium on the 16th of April, is it, I believe, the Sunday 16th of April, will you boo him? Matt?
No, never.
Troy? Okay, I'll boo him. I'll 100% boo him.
Actually, I will boo him because he said he was going to come to the Parra Cave and do a podcast with me, and he hasn't done that. So,
that's one reason.
And that
I'll tell you.
Well, he probably can now. He's a Bulldog.
I'll tell you the reason I'll boo him. He chose money over loyalty to a club that showed him no loyalty. A club that gave him every opportunity. So, to me, look, let's be honest, that game will be close to a sellout, depending on how both teams start the season. I think it will just be because of anticipation as well. And we saw last year, even with the Bulldogs going absolutely shithouse last year, that Saturday, was it Saturday 3 o'clock last year, I believe? It was definitely a daytime game. It was 27,000 there, which really is a sellout based on general admission members not turning up and stuff. So That's one to certainly pencil in, but we'll get to that. We'll go to the gains quickly. Our gains are Dejan Arce from the New Zealand Warriors, Matt Dury from the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. We've got one back. Josh Hodgson from the Canberra Raiders. Jermaine Hopgood from the Penrith Panthers. Samuel Luzo. I love names.
He was already with us.
Yeah, he was already with
Yeah,
us.
it's obviously been upgraded.
Yeah.
This is not accurate.
Yeah.
Is that the Zero Tackle website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gerard Momasi from the Knights, Jack Mertzman from the Warriors. And this one's a very interesting one. I'm really looking forward to this guy making his debut, but apparently we've signed Kai Rodwell.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about him.
Great things about him. I reckon he's an absolute chance. And I shit you not, look there, Kai Rodwell, okay? I'm not taking the piss. So, look, obviously, quickly, because we're running out of a bit of time, we're going to try and smash this one out tonight. But who's your best gain? I'm going to start and say it's Hopgood. I think most will be on the same page.
100.
Saw his brilliance in the All-Stars game. Saw what he could do for Penrith last year in that pretty strong New South Wales Cup team. And obviously that flick pass in the trial as well. I don't think we've lost anything, to be honest, by bringing him in. It means Madison will move to the second row when Madison gets back. But I think he's going to be... He's the modern-day lock, which we kind of have lacked. We haven't had that modern-day lock kind of since Felipe Mateo, who kind of wasn't a modern-day lock because he couldn't really do a lot of other things besides flick pass. But, Madison, yes, he's a ball player, but he's a big body as well. Hopgood's obviously not as big as Madison. Madison's obviously on the biggest in our team, but he's going to give us opportunities there to ball play, but also just to tuck it on the arm and run it. So I'll look forward to seeing what he can do. Anyone want to disagree with me and pick someone else?
I think
I absolutely agree. I just want to say that he reminds me of a young Cameron Murray. I think he's the Cameron Murray of our team upcoming. As you mentioned, that genuine ball-playing lock that we haven't really had. We've had great locks, but just to suit the more recent style of the game, rules of the game, I think it's a great addition to our side and really looking forward to him based off the pre-season form as well as the All-Stars, which he was just outstanding in that match.
Yeah,
Matt, to me, he's like a younger Nathan Brown when Nathan Brown first come over. But yeah, he has that natural attack in him. I think Hodjo will add something as well if he stays fit. We saw it. The trial, Hodjo skipped across like a halfback and got Mitch on the outside of his man that allowed the pass to Will set up Sean Russell's try. So I think with Hopgood and Hodjo, with Trent Barrett at the attacking coach, I think we saw our attack look more fluent and more slick than previous slow motion and clunky when it comes to trials. And it looked, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, we'll touch on that trial game soon. My biggest concern around Hodgson, I know he's obviously a great defender, can stand liver, got a good kicking game as well. He's probably got a better kicking game out of dummy half than what Reid did, a bit more accurate with his kicks. And same kind of thing with Reid, like Hodgson, especially his Canberra days, he was allowed to overplay a bit too much, obviously with that big forward pack he had at Canberra. So one, we've got to find the balance. And part two is, and it got exposed by a bloke who probably didn't play the best trial game, which was Kalen Ponga. And when they made that break, I'm just a little bit worried about Hodgson's marker work. He's just come back from a pretty serious ACL injury, obviously at 33 years old, 34 this year, I believe. I'm just a little bit worried he's going to get caught around that ruck. And if you look back at some of our games last year, a lot of our key tries and big tries were just from laziness from some of our forwards around the ruck. Obviously, we know Junior and Reg can both play big minutes. Their minutes are probably going to be up more this year because of what we've lost in the forwards. So we really need to make sure he's accurate around that ruck with his tackles and obviously being on the ball and switched on. So that's probably my biggest concern. I'll say it again. With a 34-year-old hooker, no matter how good he is, we need someone on the bench with the ability to play hooker. So I'm really intrigued to see what that round one lineup is and how we can actually work around that. So we'll get there, won't we? All right, let's move on to the 2023 season. Actually, we'll touch on the trial.
I'm looking forward to seeing Hopgood play.
Did we go to you? Oh.
No, just crushed. I agree with you all about Hopgood. Everyone's raving about him, so I can't wait to see him play. Obviously, excited to see Hodjo play, but probably one player that I am looking to see play is Jack Murchie. he's coming across from the Warriors, as did Isaiah Papali'i. Perhaps, he's a good, solid first grader. Not a superstar, but perhaps he can be turned into the same thing as Isaiah was. So we'll see how he goes.
I thought the same thing from that trial, which I was about to touch on. The second row was from the Knights trial. So we'll go to that trial now. You never wish injury on anyone, but we saw the season that Sean Lane had last year. He was stand out as obviously our best player for the year, up there with Dylan as well. Him missing 4 to 6 weeks, I don't think is going to be a bad thing for himself and for our team, because he was going to be man-marked. They were going to come out and absolutely crack him every game, knowing what he did last year. So with Madison out and returning after 5 in round 5, and with broken jaw, you're probably looking at 4 to 6 weeks. So round 6 he returns, given that week off, 2 weeks off really. I feel like it's a great opportunity for these new second rowers to come in, and to me they look a bit more versatile. The way they were hitting holes and stuff, like they weren't trying to barge over. I think it was it Murchie that scored the try that Jacob Arthur put him through against the Knights. It was just perfect hole running. It just opened up, and it was a nice ball from Jake as well. But I'm actually really they both got some size about them. They're not over the top big, and they just look like. I don't know, I'm just excited to see both those second rowers play. Obviously,
we saw Dury make a good break off a Jake, the perfect hole run against Penrith in the trial too. So they know how to run into holes.
Yeah, and that's. I reckon I'll get to obviously who I think is going to go next level later, but I'll just mention now, I think Will Penasini's got into his game this year to go to another level. I think I saw that from the trial already. And having him out there attracting defenders ready to skip on the outside or whatever, and if Russell does get the nod round 1 with Penasini with the pace, it's going to open up those holes for the second rowers, because they're going to be looking to slide straight across on Penasini. So I'm really excited for that. That'd be the right edge, won't it? Most likely. The right edge there. And obviously, see how that goes. On that trial, look, it's a trial game. It means nothing. Like I said, unless you're playing Newcastle, then it means everything, because if we lost, I would have heard absolutely everything about it. I'll quickly touch on the Knights have made a massive mistake at playing Kalen Ponga at 5'8". He cannot tackle, cannot defend, and we've obviously got some pretty easy opportunities there. But you do come up with teams that obviously have defensive weaknesses, and most of them around the halves. And I think that's one thing that has developed in our team over the last couple of years is obviously Dylan's always been a good defender. Mitch has put a lot of work into his defence. So for me, that game, it looked like when we wanted to score, we could score. As you said, we were slick. Those backline movements were slick. And one thing I've always bagged us out for is not changing up our plays, trying to run the same thing year in, year out. From round 1, you mentioned it, Trent Barrett. It could be Trent Barrett. It could just be we decided to change things up. We just look like when we got the ball and we spread it, a couple of nice block plays, cutouts, getting Wilson early ball and stuff, we looked like we could just score tries, and we could have won that trial by 70. We went, 36 to 14. Dylan come off at halftime. Obviously, I think he was still carrying his calf or some weird injury like that. Jake come on. Jake played really well. And then obviously with 20 minutes ago, we took nearly everyone off. Newcastle kept 6 first graders on in that last 20 minutes. Safidi, they had heaps of them out there. There was heaps. And then you look at the halves. Yeah, yes, I mean, they kept heaps on. And you look at the halves they brought on. They brought on Clune and Gamble, who were both starting halves last year at the representative clubs. Obviously, Clune got dropped a bit, but it just shows that we're up against a pretty good team. And it was, I think it was 6-4 to us then in that game, in that 20-minute period. So anyone want to touch on the trial quickly? Hayden, you were there as well?
Yeah, I was at the game. Good to watch it. You mentioned Matt Dury in that Penrith game. Scored a great try as well in the Knights game. I actually disagree with you, Adam, not in regards to our team there, but I actually think as much as I've always hated on that Pongo 5'8" experiment, I thought he created some plays that were nice against us. Obviously not much attack for the most part for the Knights, but I give him a chance. I know you absolutely want to roast him at every opportunity.
Is it because he's a Queenslander? You're just in love with everything.
No.
Because honestly, I'll tell you now,
the game.
Ponga only plays 3 good games a year.
I'm going to cut you off.
I'm
going to cut you off for 2 seconds. I've got a lot of mates that are Knights fans, and every single one they rang me up and said Kalen Ponga was fucking disgraceful. The whole Knights Facebook feed, Kalen Ponga this, Kalen Ponga that. Look,
$1.4 million turnstile.
They took him off at half time which was about 7 o'clock, because I'm pretty sure it kicks off at the Dell about 8 o'clock, and he had a booking in the toilet. So anyway, continue talking.
That's why Jermaine Hopgood's going to be his favourite Eels player this year. It's a Queenslander.
He's a Queenslander. Oh, okay.
Anyway, no, we'll move on to Matt.
No, he's done.
He's done. Nah, nothing for me for the trial. It was all good.
Matt?
Disappointing.
Yeah,
but
I think for the trials, Lumi and Sini really stepped up. I think it's good we've added depth there. I think Sini's on developmental this year, and then next year will be top 30, but who knows?
He's got to be
with the
top
way,
30 this year.
yeah,
Yes,
100%.
It's something
The way
that's got to happen for the club.
his game's gone to, like, after watching him last year in New South Wales Cup, just he's put on a bit of bulk. I think he's had a bit of defensive issues, but this year 100% needs to be upgraded. Hopgood, yeah, good to see what he can do on a full strength team for the full 80. But I'm more excited because Trent Barrett, I know people bagged him out as coach. He can't coach first grade, but he's a good assistant coach. And I think that we got him for a specific reason, and that's because as the assistant coach, yeah. But Ivan Cleary has said that Trent Barrett is the reason why Penrith is who they are today. He had a lot to do with that, and I think that him being at the club, and we've seen the interview with Dylan where he said it's good to have Barrett there because he can show us how to do a play and kick the ball, and he'll never listen to BA because BA can't kick a football for shit. So it's good to have an actual coach there that can tell you how to do it and show you how to do it. So I think with Barrett there, I think Mitch and Dylan's going to go to the whole new level. I don't think they had the right opportunity with Joey Johns there. I think his head was still at Newcastle, but yeah, I'm excited.
He was only part-time as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see what Barrett does to our attack because after watching that Knights game, it looks like our attack has improved a whole lot.
Let's get on. Continuing the 2023 season. Let's go to the game you're most looking forward to this year and why. Look, I always look forward to us playing Melbourne. I'm going to go home and away, but I'm going to say, obviously, the Penrith game on the 23rd of March. I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, it's a grand final rematch. We have a very good history of knocking off the Premiers the year after when we play them at home, especially early in the season. So, obviously, we did it last year as well, home and away. But I'm looking forward to that one. I think it'll be a huge game there. Thursday night should be close to a sellout, I think. As for my away game, so I'm going to give an honourable mention to the Melbourne game on the 27th or 28th of July, whatever it is. I'm actually flying down there and then flying to Europe from Melbourne the next day. I know a couple of other people are joining that game, so I've made some things and swung some things around there. But I'm going to give the Roosters a game at Allianz. I'm just really looking forward to getting to the stadium. I looked through through the opening games. I think we beat Melbourne round one. I don't know why we're $2.25 against a Melbourne team without who they've lost. You know, obviously Pappenhausen there, they've lost all those players. He's out, and
Olam,
yeah, Justin Olam's out as well. So how we're $2.25 at home really surprised me. But then we play Cronulla the week after at Parramatta again, then Manly, then Penrith. If we can win our first 4 games, and the Roosters could I'll get to that soon, but the Roosters I've got as my team to finish in my top 8. So they play the Dolphins up there, and they play the Warriors at home. They play South Sydney at Allianz, and then they have the bye. So that both teams could be 4-4 really, or 3-3, 4-4. Stupid bye, I hate that already. Going into that game, that's going to be a massive game at Allianz on a Thursday night. The disappointing thing for me for the start of the year is all the bloody Thursday night games we have. So,
but also too, that by the sounds of that, like if you think about it, we've got a tough games those first 4 weeks. Roosters, they're probably the toughest one. It's probably, I mean, every NRL game's tough, but probably their toughest one is against South, and then they have a week off. So, it could be a good time to get them.
Yeah, exactly right. It's obviously works to their benefit having that week off after a potentially tough game as well. But that's just my thoughts. That's a home game I'm looking to, and the away game will go to you. Hayden, your home and away. or just home, whatever game.
Going the back-to-back weeks there. You mentioned earlier the return of Reid to Combank will be great later in the season as an honourable mention, but the Eels and the Panthers will be my first game of the season as well, getting to go to that one. So really looking forward to it. Again, you mentioned Thursday nights, which is just ridiculous. I've been to Allianz Stadium, but I still think it'd be great to see the Eels play there for the first time. But my away game I'm looking forward to is round 21 when we head to Townsville. The Cowboys, as we've seen, they're going to be so vengeful this year after what happened. They're in the same position as us in regards to the Panthers, that promo footage on the screen and what happened. So I think us going to Townsville is going to be a very big game late in the season.
Yep. Troy?
Look, yeah, I'll just continue on and say, round 4, definitely. That'll probably be the favourite home game against the Panthers. Can't wait for that one. Obviously, grand final rematch and arch rivals. Again, Parramatta fair living in Penrith. Doesn't get much better than Parramatta beating Penrith. In terms of away games, I'm really looking forward to Parramatta and the Dolphins. I'm heading up there for that game. Obviously, historic game, first game we play against them in the NRL, but that's probably the game, the away game for me. Obviously, Magic Round's pretty good as well. We've got Gold Coast this year. And obviously Brisbane as well later in the year at the Gabba this year. So that should be interesting as well. Although I don't really know about playing on a round field.
It's going to be interesting to watch. I mentioned it before. I'm going to Melbourne and flying to Europe. I've changed my itinerary so I fly back into Brisbane for that game. So I'll actually land at 6 o'clock on the Friday morning. So
I'll see you up there. A round field, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting place to watch. I'm saying that I've watched Origin at the MCG, and it's obviously a bit bigger stadium. It's not ideal to watch from, but still the atmosphere was good. So see how we go. Matt, yours?
Yeah, as Penrith, obviously, but the away game, I'm going to say Penrith as well. I'm going to go back to back Panthers. As Troy can tell you, me walking around Penrith isn't the funnest thing at the moment for both, and it doesn't help when you train at Panthers gym that they train at too. So walking around with the Eels towel, laughing at a few of the players, saying, "Yeah, not this year, buddy." But mine's probably because we've got the bye as well. Like we play Panthers at Bluebet the second last round, and then we have the bye. So it could technically be a 4-point game, and it'll be interesting to see where we're tracking compared to them at that point. But I'm going to try and get up to the North Queensland game. So I just want to see that stadium. I reckon it looks amazing.
Oh, shit. It's terrible. The toilet's too far away.
Yeah, apparently you're going to at the Penrith semi-final, one of the guys actually had a go at JT about the toilets being too far away. Thurston goes, "I didn't design the stadium."
I have never seen anything more ridiculous. All right, so let's touch on Townsville quickly. I think we started drinking pretty early, and by the time I got the game, I was sober because I sweated it all out. We drank all night as well, and I was still sober by the time I got home on one of those electric scooters. Definitely was sober. But walking to the toilet, you wouldn't want to have 50 drinks because you'd miss the whole bloody game. It's 10 cent a year and a half away. You got to go down the stairs, back around. Mate, it's a nightmare.
Don't we also have the bye, the last round of the competition too?
We do. We do. Yeah. You didn't listen to anything comes out of Matt's mouth.
I just said we play Penrith the second last round, and we got the bye.
Mum, Dad, stop, please. Stop.
But then a couple of weeks before that, we've got a bye as well, don't we?
Mate,
can you stop talking about the bye? I'm still pissed off about this bye.
15 byes this year.
Why? You got to feel sorry for them. They never win a game.
Why didn't they? Are they good chance against the Dolphins this year? Why didn't they just bring two teams in? 2 teams straight in. If they weren't ready to bring 2 in, don't bring 1 in. Stupid. All right, let's move on. We'll go through this first. Well, now, Parramatta, where do you think Parramatta will finish? Your MVP, which is obviously Player of the Year, and your top try scorer. I'll go first because no one else can take mine. I'm going to go second. I've got us finishing second this year. I don't think we lose I've said it before. I know Hayden feels differently. I've spoken about it off air, but I don't think we lose anything in regards to the players we've lost compared to what we brought in. Just watching the halves the other day, it looks slick. Gutherson looks the fittest he has, and Hodgson will do his job, and got some good improvements there. Some players to go to the next level. So I think we'll finish second. My MVP for the year will be Dylan Brown. I just think he's going to go to that next level once again, and that's where he's got to stay at now. Obviously, it was a breakout year for him last year. And my top try scorer, it's a hard one. Obviously, I want to say Russell. I want to go Russell as a smoky. Sivo, Matt's filthy. I've taken two of his. Sivo obviously scored a lot of tries last year, since he played half the game, so he's a big chance as well. But Russell scored 3 tries in 29 minutes last year.
I wrote mine down ages ago.
Oh, well, should have sent them through. Snooze, you lose. I'm going to go Sean Russell to score the most tries, and obviously, hopefully, he makes that game in round 1 now. Hayden, you want to get yours out of the way?
Yeah, I'll go MVP. I think I'll go Mitchell Moses, because I think obviously it's not completely official, but looking like he's re-signing. And then you've got him leading.
Sure, it's been all over the news that he's signed.
Yeah. Hasn't been announced by the club yet.
It
must be in the cooling off period, or we like to call it the Daily Cherry Evans period.
He led the league in try assists last season. I think he's in for a big year. As for my top try scorer, you know what? I'm going to say it's going to be a tie. And I'm going to say we don't have a winger involved in the tie. So I'm going to say that Will Penasini and Clint Gutherson, who's always up there, Gutho scoring tries, are going to tie. They're both going to have, let's go with 12 tries each at the end of the season.
Write that down, man.
Where have you guys finishing, sorry?
Well, I can't really say that because I'm waiting for Monday, but let's just say I have got the mighty Parramatta Eels in the top 8.
All right, Troy, what do you got?
Just text it to me so I can write it down.
I'm going to say we're going to finish 4th. A lot of pundits probably wouldn't say 4th. Probably in the bottom half of the top 8, but I'll say finish 4th. We're a top 4 side. Should be a top 4 side every year. MVP, I'm going to say Jermaine Hopgood. He'll get the Ken Thornett medal this year. He'll just have a massive season, as everyone's been saying. My first try scorer will be Will Penasini, and my
first try scorer.
That's next week. That's next week.
Hey, just saying. Just getting it out there early. Just getting it out there early. And my top try scorer will be Michael Seaver.
All right. I forgot to get your breakout player. Sorry. So your breakout player, I'm season of break like we saw Dylan last year. I'm going with Will Penasini as my breakout player. Hayden.
Sorry, what was that?
Your breakout player for the season?
Breakout player for the year. Oh, if he gets a bench spot, you mentioned it earlier, Troy, coming through that system of the Warriors, Brad loves to turn forwards into great players. Yeah. I reckon Jack Murchie could be a breakout player.
I agree with you totally.
I think you could probably say Jermaine Hopgood, but I think he's already proven himself at how good he's going to be. So I think someone a bit underrated, Jack Murchie, to be the breakout player of the year.
Okay. CSA said Jack Murchie. I'll say Matt Dury. There you go.
Oh, hedging our bets on the second row, Matt. Let's go through all yours that haven't been taken.
None of them. So finished second.
Yep.
Mitch MVP. Russell leading try scorer. I was pretty impressed with him in the trials. I think he's fitter than ever. I think he's bulked up. He looks
pretty good, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's bulked up a bit. I think he'll get that round 1 spot. In fact, I've already some inside goss. Yeah, he'll get it. But my breakout player, I'm going to go left field. You've said Murchie, you've said Dury. I'm going to go Yates off the bench.
Isn't he a hooker?
Yeah, I think
why
Yates.
Why is he on the left side of the field then?
What? You're an idiot.
He said left field, guys. It was a joke. Come on, I went over.
Anyway, yeah. So with a close, see.
Sorry, I've had 4 months to prepare these jokes.
I was going to say. So it'll either be Dijon Arcee if he gets 14 or Yates, but I like Yates. I feel like he was solid in the trials, but close second, I think it's going to be breakout player of the year will be honourable mention to Kyle Rodwell.
Is he making his debut this year?
Yeah, apparently his 5th debut, which technically he can get rookie of the year because he's played under 5 games or something. So,
but isn't it his third? Isn't it his third year? I thought it had to be his second year at least.
No, I
No,
got
just the
told
amount of
otherwise.
games, I think.
All right,
It's
put
the
your
amount of
money on
games
him
in
now.
first
Kyle
grade.
Rodwell, rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year,
Our gain from
I
which
think-
club?
Yeah, from Wentworth Hill Mags.
from Rouse Hill Rhinos.
All right, Hayden, we're about to do our top 8. Do you want to jump off, or are you staying on for this?
No, I'll stay on for this,
Just
mate.
stay on.
I'll have a listen. I'll try not to
Mate,
smirk too much.
mate,
Might have to cover my
mate.
mouth.
Mate,
Put a
I'm gonna
mask
do-
on, mate. Put a mask
I'm
on.
literally recording a YouTube video straight after this of my top 8. So I'm gonna
Yeah, I'm getting
exclusive
my full season predictions on Monday, so they'll be out Monday. Everything,
All right.
final series, everything.
Let's go first. Who wants to go first?
Troy can go.
Troy? Actually, let's stop Troy. Let's get Matt go first so he doesn't
No.
have a cry if anyone steals his stuff. Come on, Matt.
No. Let's just go in order. Let's go from I'll say who I got finish first.
All
Then
right.
everyone go around. So
Finishing
go.
first, I've got the Sydney Roosters. Look, obviously adding the cheese to their team as well. They've got a pretty all-star backline there. I think for them, this is a year that Keary and Walker actually clicked together. I don't think they found that balance last year. As Hayden said, obviously that stadium as well. Allianz Stadium, obviously, is going to be a massive stadium there to open. So they're going to be a very hard team to beat there in front of probably 5,000 people half the time anyway. But as just a standard Roosters game, I think Roosters will be the team that comes first for me.
Yeah, I got Roosters.
You got Roosters, Troy?
Yeah, same.
We've all gone Roosters. That's
Yeah.
funny because I had the
I just
Roosters
think-
first. I had them first last year and I really disappointed. So
All right, boys, do not say the team, but
I
I,
just
do
think,
not have. Spoiler alert: I do not have the Roosters in first.
I already know who he's got first because we've had this conversation.
So do we.
actually, Matt,
We've been
Matt,
sworn to secrecy.
you actually don't know, mate.
Did you
Ooh,
change
You'll have
it?
to wait for the big reveal on
have I?
Monday.
You
It comes out
changed it.
Monday.
Oh,
No
he
one knows,
changed it.
mate. It comes out Monday.
Okay, second place. Who have we got?
Yeah, go.
Well, as I mentioned before, I've got
I got
Parramatta in
Eels.
second
Yeah,
place.
Eels. I got Eels.
I just don't think we lost too much in those. As I said, and I think we'll finish in second. So,
I got the Panthers.
yep. Third,
I got Storm.
Rabbitohs.
I've got Penrith in third. I hope you're writing these down, Matt, because I'm not going to remember them.
Rabbitohs. Ooh.
No, I'll write them down. I'll watch it back and I'll write it down.
Oh, man, that does his work. All right,
I've
fourth
already
place.
got mine written down.
I've
Fourth,
got South Sydney in fourth place.
Parramatta.
Look.
Fourth.
I got Cowboys.
I liked what I saw from South Sydney at the back end of last year with obviously Latrell getting fit. I think as they're, pretty much say it, like Cody Walker obviously starting to age a bit. Some of their players are starting to age, but I think this is their chance, obviously, probably one of their last cracks for a while.
They haven't really
Latrell
lost
on the field.
anyone, have they?
No, they haven't. That's the thing.
And they haven't really
Now, I don't know if
gained
you guys
anyone.
know this as well,
No.
but their hooker, Damien Cook, is a beach sprinter. Did you guys know that?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. And there's another beach sprinter out there too, apparently, that I heard of.
Yeah.
Who?
Is it the? No, another rugby league player's beach sprinter. I
Arrow?
can't think of it now. No, okay.
Beach
No, it wasn't
sprinter?
Joy Arrow.
No, I just know Cookie. I didn't think you guys would have known that, but Cookie is a beach sprinter. So, all right, who he's got fifth? I've got Cowboys.
Sharks.
Panthers.
Ooh.
I think no kick out, no Appy. We saw them the other day. They were well undercooked against St. Helens. I think the kick pressure they put on Cleary. I don't know. I think they're going to lose a lot with Appy, and yeah, I feel like with Serrato going to Bulldogs and Webster going to Warriors and us getting Hopgood, and I think there's going to be enough teams out there that can come up with the game plan to beat them. And I just feel like Penrith's going to be their own worst enemies this year. And yeah, I don't see them making the top 4.
Wonderful. Well, my 6th place is the Cronulla Sharks. I've gone the Cronulla Sharks because I feel this year Nico Hines is going to be a lot more targeted. I said it last year. I didn't see him as a natural halfback. And look, he proved me wrong. But it's not always easy to do it 2 years in a row. Ask a
Is
player
that the same as Kalen Ponga at 5'8"? You don't see him as a 5'8" either?
I will get to my wooden spoons soon.
Mate.
All right.
Is he going to prove you wrong?
No, not at all. Not at all. So that's
Hayden-
my 6. Who you guys
Hayden's
got
got the worst poker face. Just saying.
6?
Hayden's sitting there smirking his ass off every
I got-
team we mentioned.
I got
Who you
Storm.
6?
I got Rabbits.
Storm.
I got Rabbits.
7th, I've got the Melbourne Storm. I know we hope for it every year, but I feel like this is the year they've got to forward. Well, they fell last year. They got knocked out the first week of the finals, didn't they? But they've lost so much. They've just lost so much in their forward pack. Like I said, Pappenhausen, I reckon he'll end up missing half the year. And then when he does come back, he's obviously got that bad concussion history. I don't feel like Harry Grant is the hooker that everyone thinks he is. I think the Cheese made him a better hooker. So take away from that, I feel like Jerome Hughes hasn't been the same player since Cameron Smith retired. So it puts a lot of pressure on Munster. If Munster picks up a couple of niggling injuries, I think Melbourne will drop a few games. So Melbourne Storm 7th for me.
I got
Cowboys.
Sharks.
Yeah, so we've all kind of gone the same top 8. This is where it gets interesting when we name 8th place because we've all got the same top 7 really in different orders. So my 8th place, and it's hard. I think the Tigers and the Bulldogs will improve. I'm not putting them in there. I think the Bulldogs will make a late charge. I think the Tigers will finish 9th. I'm not even joking. I genuinely think they will. I think they're going to win some games. I think they just haven't got the experience there to carry it on. The Warriors are unpredictable and with obviously all their home games at home this year, they're going to win a lot of games that will keep them away from the bottom. But for me, I'm going to go Brisbane in 8th. They were thereabouts last year, and they obviously dropped a few games at the back end of the year. We kind of destroyed their season as well, but they showed enough promise. Obviously, they got Walsh back as well. Are they playing fullback? He play fullback? Is he fit? Yep, was good to go. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
he's out round 1.
He's out round
adding
one.
Walsh, he's out round 1.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got Cobbo, so.
Yeah, but taking away, putting Walsh in at fullback takes a lot of pressure away from Reynolds, who's obviously aging quite a bit and got a few dodgy knees and stuff. So, I mean, I think Brisbane will sneak into the 8. Who you guys got for 8?
Yeah, I got Broncos.
Yeah, Brisbane.
I
We're
got.
all got the same top 8.
I literally I've got 3 teams fighting for the top 8, and Brisbane.
Who are the other 2?
Manly and Bulldogs.
Yeah, Manly will be thereabouts as well. It's a hard one
Yeah,
as well.
I got Manly in 9th.
It's Manly's the hard one, obviously, because of Turbo and kind of what Turbo can do once down the field. But go to your wooden spoon. Is Hayden allowed to mention your wooden spooner?
Yeah, go on. I've got the Newcastle Knights.
Oh, yes, I love that. I love that. Well, this might surprise you, but I want the Knights to finish last. I really do, and they'll be in that bottom 2 or 3. But after watching the trials the other day, one team that's really going to take a fall from grace, I think it could be their time. I'm going to say the Canberra Raiders.
Really?
They were very, very ordinary.
I literally think Sticky gets fired this year. He's one of my coaches I've got.
I know.
It's out the season.
Look, the bottom 4, I have no doubts will be. Well, the bottom 5 will be the Dragons, Titans, Dolphins, Knights. I'm putting Canberra in. What's he got?
Canberra are $31 for the wooden spoon right now.
Yeah, I know. I probably will chuck something on it, but I don't know.
Canberra responsibly.
Let's look back. Let's look back to 2019. Parramatta beat. Obviously, we absolutely demolish Brisbane.
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 58
I had to get it
now.
out. I was trying to think of the score. I was like, it was 58, wasn't it? So,
58.
I was thinking of last year's score. It was 53, but obviously demolish them. And look what it did to their season the year after. They ended up getting the wooden spoon, didn't they? So, if you think about Canberra, what we did to them, we absolutely demolished them. We showed every team how to play them. Their trial form was ordinary. They haven't really recruited that much. They've lost a little bit. So a lot of pressure on Whiten, who hasn't really been a player to handle pressure. So I've got him there. I honestly think Canberra a big chance to get the wooden spoon. I will be taking that $31. Thank you, Hayden. Troy, who you got?
Oh, look, this wasn't on the rundown sheet, but
No, it wasn't. No.
So bit of fly on the run here, but look, yeah, I'll probably say it's a toss up between St George and Newcastle. Or either one of those two. You said the Raiders look pretty terrible in the trials. The Dragons look pretty bad as well.
I think the Dragons have bigger
Doesn't
problems.
help when they're
as
punching
well.
on at hotels either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Woodsy's come out and said that was just, two boys having
Look,
an
you
argument.
know what would solve this problem?
A barbecue?
A barbecue at Vorney's, all right? Let's barbecue at Vorney's, get the boys together.
Bit far away to do that these days, but
everything will be solved.
Yeah, so either one of those.
I got Dragons. I've actually got Newcastle finishing 11th.
Yeah, you're dreaming. They won't finish 11th.
And Canberra 14th.
Yep, wonderful. All right, has anyone got anything else they want to touch on? Pretty much gone over it. Obviously, next week we'll touch on starting team for the week. I'm very interested to see who
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Teamless Tuesday. Can't wait.
Tuesday.
I'm interested to see who gets the centre spot in round one. It's one thing. Is Bailey fit? Is Bailey ready to go?
No, Bailey's not, but I think Wanga and
touch and go, I think, with him.
Wanga and someone else has been cleared.
What about Hayes? Dunster?
No.
Not ready?
I think he's been cleared, but I think
he's been overlooked at the moment, at least.
I think Russell will get that.
He'll get that wing, but what I've heard is there's a big chance that Dunster actually will move to the centres this year. So we need some centre depth. So
yeah,
I don't expect him to play NRL round one after having a year off.
I think the centres will either be. I think if Bailey touch and go, but I think Wanga will get it round one.
If he's ready, hasn't he got a broken arm, or is he good?
No, he's good. He just has to wear that stupid padding thing on it.
Which is a shame, though, because his best position was wing last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't got the depth for him to be in the wing this year.
I think in the off-season and pre-season, like, Russell's just going to go to that next level.
Yeah, Russell deserves it. Look,
he's
after
fit
last year.
He's been the one that's been on Guffo's heels at training, and we know how fit Guffo is, so...
And he's got goal kicking under his bow as well. And
those line dropouts.
Line dropout, the other day. Massive.
I think he'd be our first coverage, obviously, for fullback as well now if we miss the game for any reason. So, which is one thing we've kind of struggled with. I know we didn't give Hayes a crack there, but we haven't really had a good depth fullback to cover. And if you look at across the years, a lot of
Guffo makes Origin and
you don't know anything could happen though.
I know, yeah.
It's one of those things. You look back across the years, a lot of our good wingers that came through. Who we can't. We can mention Jared Hayne now because he's obviously been off. So Jared Hayne was a fullback and played on the wing. So many of them across the year. Like we saw obviously Birdie on the wing and then go to fullback. Like you look at it that way.
Anthony Minchella.
Yeah, he didn't play for us, but Gutherson.
I know he didn't play for us, but he started off on the wing.
If you go through the good fullbacks that started on the wing, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, he started on that wing and went to fullback because of Minchella. So many players across the time. And you look at someone like Joseph Manu, who's the centre, but a better fullback. So it's good to have players that you can still slot in your team that can do a job, but then can obviously cover there if you need to. So that's one thing I feel like we've really been lacking. But that's all we've got time for, obviously. So good first show. So we'll come back next week, do some stuff throughout the year. I want to put the call out now, though. We mentioned our away games. I want to try and get us to do like a tour of duty in a way and get as many Parramatta fans to a game as we can. So pump it on our socials, pump it on everything, pump it in our groups, and try and make that Melbourne game in July. I reckon it could be huge because it's always a good one because, one, they can't fill their stadium, but I reckon we can go down and do something special there again. So let's pump that one. Let's try and get everyone to get to at least one big away game and try and take over a stadium.
Yeah, my birthday.
And it's my birthday too, like the week before. So we've all got to go. Troy, you better be there. Hayden, you better be there.
Yeah, I'll try and get there for sure.
You've already booked it.
He's already booked
away trips this year. So...
Have you booked Melbourne?
No. Troy done it without us, mate. Troy didn't even.
Oh,
Could have got a nice 4-bedroom apartment, penthouse.
penthouse.
Mate.
Yeah.
Troy's going to miss out on the parties because we're all going to the different games than he is because he booked it already.
Well, there won't be any party for me because that game finishes at 10 o'clock and I fly to Dublin at 5:15 the next morning. So I'll be going straight to bed. Or I won't be. I'll just be going straight to the airport.
Sleep on the plane, mate.
Yeah. All right. Catch you next week. And
Thank you very much, fellas. See you
Thank you,
next
everyone.
week.
Great to have everyone back. And hopefully see you next. You guys will definitely be here next week. I'll have to work it out, obviously, being off to LA. But round one, something special. You boys will be there.
Make sure you subscribe to the Talking Parra podcast on Spotify, Apple, and check out all the social media channels as well.
Thank you.